longer.
Someone's grumpy because they didn't get their old man.
Are we recording already?
We're recording now.
Hi.
Hello and welcome.
Welcome back to another episode of Too Scared to Sleep.
Too Scared to Sleep, baby.
It has been too fucking long.
It's been a long ass time. I have been so busy.
Yeah, you have. I also have been busy. No, it's okay. We took time off. I tried out a couple of different options of how to record, but nothing had that je ne sais quoi.
Need that special spice,
It
that
didn't
Michael's
have
secret
the
stuff.
Salt Bay bullshit
Salt Bae.
thing. It just didn't have it. And it was just like, it was one of those things where it's like, I just can't do it without Dylan. I can't do it without you, Dylan. I can't do it without you. So we decided that we would find a truncated format, and we're just going to do it this way. But it's been great. So we're happy to have you back. Hopefully we can do video, so I'm going to go ahead and look at the camera and say, hello, Insomniacs. Welcome to Too Scared to Sleep. We're so excited to have you here. I'm wearing my dad plaid. Dylan is wearing some sort of goth thing, of course.
It's from Black Craft.
That shows a lot of his tattoos. I know we talk about his tattoos all the time, but he's definitely showing some. Anyway,
people
let's
love
see.
my tattoos.
Yeah. So we've been away for a long time, so obviously we got a lot to talk about, a lot
to talk about.
So go ahead, Dylan. You have anything you want to say it first? Because I really only have one thing that I really need to talk about.
Well, I have been hard at work, working very tirelessly.
It's been very hard.
7 days a week for 8 months now.
Mm-hmm.
I have had 3 days off. Actually 4 if you include Thanksgiving. Anyway, it's been going super cool. I've been tattooing people fairly frequently now. Moving up in the world, doing some bigger pieces, some fancier pieces. Obviously my ears are bigger. I've got hand tattoos now. I've been tattooing myself. I did this one on me.
He's been tattooing himself a lot.
I've been tattooing myself a lot. I like the practice.
He could show you his knees, but then he'd have to drop his pants, and I'm not willing.
That's true.
Don't do that here in my house on that chair where my children sit.
That's fair.
Don't you fucking dare.
But yeah, I have 4 on my legs that I've done myself, and then the one on the hand. I got some more that I'm going to be working on. But I've just been working all the time, so much. I really don't much care for retail, obviously.
Which is why you're working to be a tattoo Padawan, so you can master it.
Which is why I'm working to become a Grand Master. I am currently a Padawan, but I'm getting there.
You'll get your rank of Knight eventually, and then you can work on
Soon
your rank
I can
of
join
Master.
the Jedi Council.
That's right.
Yes.
But you're still not granted the rank of Master.
Not yet. But we're getting there. We're going to get there.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it's been cool.
I hope I'm not being too quiet. I only have one thing I need to talk about.
Hit me with it.
Lots of things have happened in my life, but there's only one real thing I need to talk about, and that is the fact that Denis Villeneuve's Dune came out.
Fuck yeah, it
in
did.
October.
Fuck yeah, it did.
And I have watched that movie, as of today, 11 times.
Holy shit.
11 times.
You.
I saw it in the movie theaters 4 times, and I have watched it in this house 7 times since then. I actually broke down and bought it on our Vudu.
Yes, he did.
Yesterday.
And I'm excited, because I've only seen it once. I gotta watch it again.
I can't fucking believe you. I've seen it twice. I've seen it twice this week.
I don't have time for TV. I get home from work,
true.
I eat, I look at TikToks, I go to sleep. If I'm lucky, I have enough time to get zonked out of my gourd and rewatch Daredevil for a little bit.
Daredevil?
Dude, Daredevil's fucking good.
You mean, the
show.
MCU Daredevil. I thought you meant like Ben Affleck.
No, not the Ben Affleck one. If I'm going to watch anything with Ben Affleck, it's going to be Zack
Geely?
Snyder's Justice League. Did you say Geely?
I did.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
It's obviously going to be Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Were we recording when Zack Snyder's Justice League came out?
Yes, we talked about this at length.
I figured we did, but I couldn't remember for sure.
We talked about it at length with our listeners and how much of a masterpiece it was.
It's fucking good, man.
How excited we were for it. Yes, that took up a lot of our life.
That it did. It still does.
It still does.
But now we're hyperfixated.
But shut up. Shut the fuck up. Wait a minute. You passed by. We need to talk more about Denis Villeneuve's Dune, how amazing it was. No, we don't really need to spend too much time on it, because I could go on and on and on.
It's fucking good.
I've watched the movie 11 times. I've read the book at least 10 times in my entire life. And I was watching a thing where Denis Villeneuve was talking about one of the scenes. He was breaking down the scene for Vanity Fair, and he was talking about how he read the novel when he was probably 13 years old, and it's always been his dream to be able to make this movie. And I probably read it about the same time, and I'm just like, I'm very invested in this movie, and I was not disappointed in any way, shape, or form. I
Not
thought it
at
was
all.
amazing. I thought it was great, which is why I keep watching it over and over and over again. It has taken the place in the eternal pantheon above Blade Runner 2049 as a movie that I will watch continually. It's on repeat the entire day.
Oh yeah.
Because it's just one of those things where I can be focused on working and doing other stuff, and I can just kind of look up.
And then you get that background like,
oh my god, yeah, it was so cool.
it's fucking good, man. I definitely am gonna rewatch it soon.
I think with the coolest part, there's so many cool parts about it, but one of the things that I was just watching was that they intentionally did a lot of scenes with Stellan Skarsgård as the Baron Harkonnen, where he's just like this big, bald, hulking menace.
Yeah,
that's very, very. It's a throwback. It's an homage to Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now.
Yeah,
because Marlon Brando showed up and he's like, and when they wanted to make the movie, he's supposed to be the special forces colonel with this crack troop of people they've gone crazy. And he showed up and he's like 100 pounds overweight. And they were like, what in the world are we going to do with him? And so Francis Ford Coppola was like, well, just shoot him in the dark. And we just won't show how big he is.
Yeah.
But there's this one scene when Kurtz is talking about being an errand boy. And he wipes the sweat from his sweaty head.
Yeah,
like
and then
that.
you get that shot of
And
Harkonnen. Like,
yeah, Baron Harkonnen does it this way.
I think it's like the first time that you see him, he like pulls it into himself.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, I was not disappointed at all in the movie. And again,
it was so good.
How many times did I see it? 4 times in the movie theater.
Paid money to see it
I
4 times,
paid money.
and then more money to see it at home.
Yeah, I paid a monthly subscription to HBO Max so that I could see it at home, and then it went off HBO Max, which almost ended my life.
I didn't realize it was when it was going off of HBO Max, and I sat down ready to watch it the day after it left.
You son of a bitch.
I know. I was.
That's what you get.
I was frustrated.
That's
but now
what
we own it,
happens.
so
You
we
get
can
what
watch
you
it
fucking deserve.
forever.
We can watch it forever and ever and ever, which we will. Which we absolutely will. So I've watched it a lot. A lot of other things have gone on in my life, but that's really,
That's the biggest thing, I think.
that really is.
Also, Dune, obviously top of the list right now, but I don't want to completely ignore The Suicide Squad.
The Suicide Squad
Very
was
good movie, actually.
Yeah.
Did a really good job. I really enjoyed it. And the Peacemaker series is coming out pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty hyped for that. Me and Jake are going to go see Spider-Man this
No Way
Friday,
Home.
opening night.
That's right.
I'm fucking jazzed
I'm
about
excited.
that, too.
Actually, oh God, it was so fucking crazy. I spent like $100 in one day on just entertainment bullshit. I bought tickets to go see Suicide. I got tickets to go see Spider-Man No Way Home on 2 different nights because I'm going with 2 different groups of people.
Nice.
And then also bought tickets for this daddy-daughter dance thing in February for my daughter, which always sells out here in town. It's like we got to fucking go. And I was just like, well, I guess we're just going to drop all this money right now.
Might as well.
This is what my life's about, is going to the movies now.
Hell yeah.
As it used to always be. It used to be like that all the time.
Of course.
I saw House of Gucci, and that was really good, too.
Was it? I have heard mixed reviews on that.
Oh, well, anything with Lady Gaga. I love Lady Gaga.
That's fair.
And she did a pretty good job at playing an unhinged Italian lady. It's a real stretch. No, I'm kidding. She's perfect. She's lovely. She's wonderful.
Speaking of Ridley Scott flicks, I saw The Last Duel.
How was that?
It was a cool concept, but they just...
Was it super long?
It was unnecessarily long, and the whole premise is that, like, a horrible thing happens, so you hear it from the perspective of the husband's best friend who supposedly committed the crime, and then the wife. So you get the same story 3 times, and the details are just a little bit different, which is kind of a cool idea. It was just so unnecessarily drawn out. And, of course, fucking... Ridley Scott has been getting on my goddamn nerves recently because it underperformed at the box office because people aren't really going to see movies that much anymore. And also, he just didn't make that good of a movie. And he's like, oh, it's this generation and their fucking cell phones. No, Ridley Scott, it's because you can't direct a good fucking movie anymore.
Put some effort in. Stop dialing it in, Ridley Scott.
Yeah, you can do better. We know you can. We've seen it. We obsess over it. You can do better.
Christopher Nolan's coming out with an Oppenheimer movie.
Oppenheimer?
That is star-packed.
Fuck yeah, dude.
That's going to be awesome.
Ooh, the cast for Fall of the House of Usher.
Oh, yeah.
That's some fucking powerhouse
Yes.
shit right there.
Yes.
The Tragedy of Macbeth coming out, Denzel Washington, black and white.
And Francis McDormand. Oh my god.
One of the Coen brothers. Which one is it? Joel Coen. First movie he's done without his brother. And it's
She's married.
from
That's who
A24.
Francis McDormand is married to. Joel Coen.
Joel Coen?
Mhm. That's her husband.
Good for them.
I know.
Love that shit.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time for movies.
I am so excited that we are finally back on the rise of like movies coming out. We had Pig with Nicolas Cage come out recently, which I haven't gotten around to watching yet. But Nicolas Cage is coming out with a whole bunch of other fucking movies.
Nicolas Cage is coming out in a movie where he plays Nicolas Cage.
Where he's playing
in
Nicolas
a role he was born
in
to
a
play.
role he was born to play.
It's insane.
I'm so excited for that. Also, have you watched Psycho Goreman?
No, I saw it on the Vudu, but I haven't gotten around to seeing it. I saw it on our Vudu.
I watched it high as fuck. And let me tell you, it literally feels like the writers of Adult Swim made a Power Rangers.
Okay, I'll watch it.
It's the coolest shit in the world. It's a little bit jarring at first because I didn't know exactly what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
But there's these fucking hilarious bits where, like, I mean, these kids summon this fucking demon from hell.
Of course they do.
And he's like fighting off these aliens, but it's like truly horrific shit that happens, like people getting blown up and like intense violence. But it's all shown like at first through the lens of like the Power Rangers doing the exciting fight, and then it'll do that thing where it like changes the color palette and it switches to like the real people having to process everything that just happened, and you watch people get like psychologically scarred where it lingers on them on the camera for a little bit too long.
Oh, okay.
Like Adult Swim does a lot of the times, and that shit is my fucking favorite. It's so good.
Crazy.
I know. I have weird
insane.
tastes.
Shit, there was something else I was going to mention. Now I can't even remember because you dropped it on me.
Good.
You dropped it on me. It doesn't
Good.
matter. We can come back to it in a minute. Totally. Oh yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I remember if I told you this, but I switched over our Amazon account because you can designate a charity in Amazon.
Oh yeah.
Through Amazon Smile, you can designate a charity that will receive a portion of all the proceeds that are on eligible purchases from Amazon. You buy something, and then that's part of the proceeds will go to whatever charity you want. And I had Kids, which is this radio DJ person, blah, blah, blah. I switched it over to the Satanic Temple a couple of months ago. So now every portion of proceeds of anything that I buy and anything Dylan buys through my Amazon, which is our Amazon, which is our Amazon, goes to the Satanic Temple. Hail Satan!
Hail Satan!
Hail Satan! Yeah. Anyway, so we've had a lot of good fun. But Dylan has been super fucking busy and super stressed, and so we didn't want to stress him out. So this is the format that we're going with. I got a topic ready for us, and Dylan's just going to react to the topic.
And I'm excited.
And that's okay. I was really excited because I got this topic ready. It was something that I saw in Unsolved Mysteries a couple of months ago, and I'd put it on my list of topics that I wanted to research. And then I realized that I had time, so I've got, for the next episode that we have, I've got a double-sized topic for us.
And I'm excited for that one.
Double-sized topic. So that'll be good. But for right now, since we've gone on and on and on and talked about Psycho Gorman and Nicolas Cage and Denis Villeneuve, oh my God.
It's only been 13 minutes.
May he live forever. Matrix Resurrections comes out
Matrix
too.
Resurrections.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
What a time to be alive.
Wow. We got a new Spider-Man movie.
We got a new Spider-Man movie. We got a new Matrix movie. We got a new Dune movie. We got a new COVID variant. What a time to be alive.
What a time.
Have you got a new booster yet?
No, I've only gotten the first 2 shots.
Okay. I went and got my booster a while back, and I got my flu shot too.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm also going to see a concert for the first time since I graduated high school.
Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
No, I'm going to see All Them Witches in San Antonio.
Ooh,
They're my favorite psychedelic stoner rock band.
I went and saw a concert earlier this month, about a month ago.
What'd you see?
This band.
Oh yeah. Never mind.
What
I remember.
again? It's from England. Oh yeah, the Rolling Stones.
The Rolling fucking
Holy
Stones.
fucking shit!
Jesus Christ.
It was really cool. Me and this girl, we just Forrest Gumped ourselves into some tickets, and we were able to go, and it was amazing. It was super fucking cool.
He was fucking
all the good
geeking out
songs.
about it.
I still geek out about it.
Yeah.
I can't believe that we were able to go. We couldn't believe that we were there. We're like, oh my God, we're seeing the Rolling Stones. Once in a lifetime experience.
He was geeking out exactly like a 44-year-old man would do.
I'm not 44, you piece of shit.
How old are you?
It's funny that you say I've been going 8 months and I've only had four days off and I'm exhausted. And I'm thinking to myself, I work 8 hours and I have to take a nap.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
Must
I
be
need a
nice.
nap. I need a
I
nap
work
real
like
bad.
9 to 12 hours a day,
Right.
except at my retail job.
You can do that though.
Barely
You're young and sprightly.
hanging on by a thread.
Listen, you're gonna do fine. You gave me 2 tattoos in the last 4 months, and they
I
look pretty
did.
good. They look respectable. No, they look good.
Thank you.
I'm very proud of the tattoos that you gave me,
Thank you. I am too.
and I'm very
Also,
proud of you.
I am getting
Oh my god,
3.5 days off for Christmas.
Wasn't sure where you were going with this.
Yeah, I
That's
like to
good.
keep you on your toes.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually get more than 1 day off in a row, and I think I might just have a heart attack once. I feel like I've just been going so fast that it's gonna stop and slow down, and then it's just gonna not stop stopping until I just.
You know what it's gonna. I hate to say this. I hate to make this joke.
No, hit me with it.
But you know how you see the there's like 3 or 4 people. It always happened in Scooby Doo where they're all running really close to each other, and Fred stops and everybody rams behind him. That's going to happen, except it's going to be you and your anxiety and your crippling depression
And it's just gonna.
and your eating disorder, and it's going to.
Why do I have an eating disorder now?
Because I just watched you eat a whole box of French fries and a sweet tea as a meal. There's no food in your food. God. I don't know how you don't weigh 600 pounds right now.
Well, you got me there.
I don't know what. It's because you have the young man metabolism.
It's not. I don't know.
you.
I think it's just because I don't eat a lot.
Oh, I was watching all of me and my nephews and my older brother were watching Star Trek: The Next Generation all the way through.
As
which
one does.
I've seen it. I don't even know how many times. Not as many times as I've seen Dune, but I've watched it. We were talking about how many times Riker has sex with someone.
It's probably a lot.
Oh,
I
it
feel like
happens
that
a lot.
man
All the
just showed up
HR
and started
violations.
slaying
He has got
dick.
to have so many different levels of alien STDs.
God.
And he's
can you
probably
imagine?
in sick bay, at least once or twice a week being like, what is this thing? What is this? I've got a wart now. I don't even know what it is. He probably got cultures. Crusher's writing papers on him all the time. She's like, you would not believe this guy got this now. All kinds of crazy
I
stuff.
feel like science would have evolved to the point, though, that, like, you just show up, they give you a little shot, and then, boom, STD's gone.
I would
For,
hope
like,
that
any
someone
of
would give him a shot, a male contraceptive shot, number 1. I mean, obviously they did because there aren't any little Rikers around
that you know of.
that we know of.
Maybe the writers were just too cowardly to show it.
Oh my God. But Riker, I'm telling you, so many times he's having sex. He's doing all kinds of crazy stuff. It's insane. I could get into it, but there's no reason to get into it. About that one episode. Anyway, it doesn't matter. When their memories get erased and he's showing Troy to her room and she's like, I think I know you somehow. And she's like touching he's like, maybe there's a connection there. I don't know. And then he goes to his room and Ro Laren is in his room and she's like, oh my God, I was just waiting for you here. And he's like, oh really?
Not going to get into it and proceeds to get into
And
it.
I'm going to get into it. And she's like, for all we know, we're married. And he's like, well, I don't care. I'm just going to go now. Like, you just left Troy's room. She is obviously in love with you. And now you're banging Ro Laren. Jesus Christ, Riker. Have some dignity.
You see, Jake, sex is like an ocean. He's drowning in it. Put your hand up. That's called a high five.
I'm not going to high five you.
Bummer.
Anyway, enough about that. I'm going to do... What the fuck? I'm going to do the Picard maneuver, fix my shirt, and I'm going to get into my topic. Are you ready?
I was born ready.
I was born ready. I'm wearing my dad plaid. I'm not sure if I mentioned that already.
Yes, you did. And we can see it because we're on video.
That's right. We're on video. Oh my God. I hope this works. I'm going to have to try to edit all this. So I have no idea if it's going to work very well or not. We'll just do it live. It's fine.
It should work.
Okay. So I'm going to be talking about a topic that I saw on Unsolved Mysteries. So I did a lot of research on it. It's called the Berkshire County UFO incident.
Ooh, love me a good UFO.
So the Berkshires, is a hilly region of western Massachusetts. Obviously super white. Recently it's come to be known for something else because of the Netflix series Unsolved Mysteries. It's portrayed as the setting for a famous UFO event witnessed by people across the whole county. That's the best part about it.
Oh boy.
Is this UFO moved around and different people saw it all in one night. It's really cool. If you're a fan of ufology, it's very likely that it's a story you've never heard before. How can a story be at once notable enough to attract the attention of a major TV network and at the same time be so virtually unknown that it slipped through the cracks of most UFO literature? So that's what we're going to fucking find out right now.
Fuck yeah, man.
That's right. Fuck it up, son. Fuck it. What was I saying then? I was saying that about a certain movie. I don't remember which movie. It's probably a Lifetime Christmas movie. Been watching a lot of those lately.
He does this to himself, and I don't really understand it.
That's good shit, man. Anyway, watch this one called. Never mind. The
No,
story
let's
may
not
be.
get into that.
Stop it. We won't get into that. We'll talk about it later. The story may be hard to find, but it's not completely unknown. Ancient Aliens once devoted a few minutes to it. It's been on a page or two of a few obscure UFO books from the recent decade. But like so many UFO events, it's claimed to be strongly evidenced by a huge number of reliable eyewitnesses. But in the unsolved mystery thing, they only talk to about 3 or 4 people. Right.
That's still a pretty good amount of people.
Either because the other ones didn't want to be filmed or because time has passed. This actually happened in 1969, so it's been a while. 52 years.
Yikes.
A lack of any physical evidence, obviously, is the rule with a lot of, it's not necessarily the exception, but it's usually the rule for UFO stories. We don't have physical scientific evidence to prove this. But the Berkshire County UFO takes this absence of evidence a step further. Generally, whenever there's a mass UFO sighting, the local press runs a few columns about it. The local police plotter will maybe show a few panicked phone calls or people reporting things to the cops. One of the most intriguing aspects of this story that they talked about in the Unsolved Mysteries is that we don't have any of that. They actually asked the local police to look up their blotter for that day, Labor Day, September 1st, 1969, and they found no mention of anything unusual at all. Just a couple of calls about beer cans, somebody found on their lawn, a little girl was missing, and then like an hour later they found her. That's all they've got. A local historian actually went to the archives of the Berkshire County Eagle, the newspaper, and searched the news. Searched for it the next morning, back and forth trying to find it. Nothing about it. Full month afterwards, no reports in the newspaper. He found not a single printed word. Not a single police officer or news reporter caught the faintest whiff. That's the weirdest part about it.
Yeah, that's a little sketchy.
It's a little suspect. But at the same time, maybe it was just a big cover-up.
That's true. Could
Stranger
be
things have happened.
X-Files and that shit.
Okay, so what really brought it back into the limelight was that the Great Barrington Historical Society. So Berkshire County is this big county, and the biggest town, the county seat, is called Great Barrington. The Historical Society in 2015 decided to recognize the UFO incident as a historical fact.
Oh, damn.
Right. However, what's rarely reported is that it's a 9-member council. 6 of them voted to recognize the UFO incident because they thought it would be good for tourism. The minority voted against it because they felt like there was no reason to think that anything actually had happened. So it's a little bit controversial, right? So,
okay,
let's dig into this.
Yeah, let's dig into it.
So, on the night of September 1st, 1969, it's Labor Day. Even now, but even more so then, a lot of people are off on Labor Day. It's not that big of a thing, but back then, in 1969, everything would be closed. They
didn't have shit to do.
They didn't have shit to do. They would have, they would have picnics. They would have maybe a parade. Bands would play, that sort of stuff. That's how it used to be back in the Americana days. It was a long weekend. Obviously, this is a Monday. Labor Day is always on a Monday, the first Monday of September.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that for real? You're being sarcastic.
No, I actually didn't know that. It's
Labor Day. Labor Day is always
Day.
the first. Labor Day is always the first Monday of September.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever gotten a Labor Day off, so I have no
Just
reason
like
to know that.
just like Thanksgiving is always like the third Thursday of November.
Cool.
I know Labor Day is a big important thing because Labor Day is always the start of our party season. So we are balls deep in party season right now. Woo! We have had so much fun this year. It has been a huge success. Party season has been off the fucking chain. It's good times. All right. So the story goes that people up and down the Berkshire counties, the Berkshires, this mountain range, this area, reported some variation of seeing a large, brilliantly lit flying object in the sky. Other people reported being transported into a large room with others and finally returned to the ground with a few hours of missing time. That's the general consensus. But we're going to talk about. I'm going to highlight the stories that I found online and through the Unsolved Mysteries and what they happened. Okay, the first one was about this lady named Jane Green, who's elderly. She's probably in her 80s at this point. She has lived in Great Barrington since she was 12 years old, and at the time she was married and she had 2 kids. So she's probably in her mid-20s at this point.
Okay,
back in 1969, she was working in a nearby town that night, and her mother was babysitting her 2 sons. She states that her 2 sons were 10 and 12 when they were in the yard playing around, around dusk, and they saw a UFO in the sky. They ran into the house and told their grandmother, who phoned the mother and said, the boys are saying that there's something in the sky. Jane Green was driving home from work with a friend, the mother, and they were in the next town over. They were working. As they were driving, they saw a huge row of lights up ahead, and she assumed that there must have been an accident with like emergency vehicles, because that's what that was the first thing that she thought was causing all the lights. But as she got closer, the lights were blinding, so much so that she couldn't see the road anymore. So she pulls over to the shoulder, and she and her friend both got out of the car, and big as shit in the sky, a huge floating, what they called a turtle-shaped object.
Yeah. With
rows of lights along the median line.
Oh, fuck it up.
So large, she said, that she couldn't even see the edge. It took up the entire horizon, and it was silent, right?
Oh, I don't like that.
Right? It's just there. Right?
Oh,
no
boy.
sounds. Nothing. No. Nothing. And then a few seconds later, it just rises and flies over the mountain. Okay? So she gets back to town. She tells her husband. They're freaked out. The husband's like, well, let's go talk to the radio DJ. So they go to the local radio station, and it turns out that the guy who's on air is also the station manager. Probably because he's the only one who's allowed to work on Labor Day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's giving everybody else the day off.
Good for him. What a man.
Mm-hmm. So he says, let's go talk to the radio DJ. And so they do. And the radio DJ, according to legend, he kind of dismissed it. He was like, no, I haven't heard anything about it. And then a couple of hours later, he started getting calls from people.
Oh.
So much so that he called the police. This is the story that they have, right?
Oh, boy.
Okay, but the problem is, back then, they would record that episode, right, as the guy is talking. But later on, probably they keep maybe 2 or 3 days worth, and then they would just re-record over the tape. It was reel-to-reel tape back in the old days, right? These things were recordable to a certain point until it actually just like wore down. The tape actually physically wore down. So that's how they would do it. So there's no record of that. Right.
Shit.
It's not like you can go back and get it. By the time that Jane Green got home, her kids were asleep, and so she never thought to even talk to them about it. And they basically collectively forgot about it and never spoke about it until 2015 when everything comes back out, and she phones up her grown-ass sons and says, do you remember when that happened? And they're like, yeah, I do. I just never thought to talk to you about it.
If I saw a fucking UFO blocking the road, the first thing I would do is tell everybody about it.
But would you?
Yeah. At very least, you would know, and my dad would know right away.
I would be scared shitless. I'd be, whatever you do, don't come to my house because it's tracking you. Don't come over here.
This is the first stop I'm making.
God damn it.
So
I don't need that in my life. All right, let's go.
You scared of a little alien probe?
I just don't want grays showing up in my house, okay?
You've already got him.
Stop it.
It's the owl.
Like I mentioned, I know, I've got an owl. It's
never an owl.
Stop it. The radio director laughed it off and suggested it was swamp gas.
Fucking swamp gas.
Like I said,
you fucking
I know.
Shit.
He started getting calls over the ham radio hours later. And, from people miles away from all these different towns down basically to the south of the county saw it. We're seeing it and we're talking about it. He made an announcement over the radio and asked if anybody's seen it, please call in and call the police. However, this is hard to reconcile because they actually talked to one of the current police officers and he's like, here's the police blotter. We keep these things forever.
Yeah.
This is something that we have to keep as a matter of record. And so it's always going to be there. Nothing. Not only that, but the local paper doesn't have anything else. So, there's that lack of evidence. So once the UFO blinked away from that, the next sighting happens in the county to the south and to the west. Okay. There's a guy named Tom Warner who was 10 years old at the time. So he's 52 at this point. He's 10 years older than I am. He was at a friend's house at the time. And it was a family that he had known his entire life, so they were just hanging out. And around dusk, Tom walked past a window and felt a compelling thought in his mind, like projected into his mind, telling him that he had to go home. Right?
Oh, I don't care for that much at all.
You have to go home. So he looks at his friend Debbie, who was about 12 years old at the time. She was basically in charge of him. No, Debbie was his friend, and then her older sister was in charge of all the kids. So let's say there's a 15-year-old girl in charge of these kids, right? So his friend Debbie, he says, I have to go home. And she's like, what do you mean? She's like, I have to go home. So he bolts out the door. He says that he felt a mixture of fear and about the thoughts that had been implanted in his mind because he knew there was something weird about this, but he also had that overwhelming desire that he needed to get home.
Yeah.
Right? So he starts running. He gets about 20 feet out the door, and something froze him in place.
Oh.
And his friend
okay.
Debbie says, as clear as shit, he was 20 feet from our front door, and his legs were moving, but he wasn't moving at all. It was like he was just frozen, running in place.
I fucking hate that.
Mm-hmm. He was able to turn to his right.
That's a
and
new
he
one.
looks over to a pasture, and as he does, the UFO drops out of the sky and starts hovering and moving towards him.
That is significantly worse.
Mm-hmm.
It went from bad to worse real quick.
Then, just like Travis Walton, a light shone around him, and he disappeared. Phew. He's gone.
The Prestige.
That's right. Are you
Fuck,
watching
man.
closely? I just watched The Prestige.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
It's so
I need to
good,
rewatch
Christopher
that.
Nolan. Anyway, okay, so that happens, and the next sighting happens to the south and to the east. There's a lady named Melanie Kirchdorfer who was 12 at the time. All of these, are you seeing a pattern here? Okay,
The pattern is I can't stop yawning.
stop yawning.
I'm trying my best. I don't know why I'm yawning so much.
I'm so excited right now that I'm not even catching your contagious yawns.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So Melanie Kirchdorfer was also 12 at the time. Now remember, Tom Warner's 10 years old.
Yeah.
Right. She was with her family, and they had just gotten ice cream. Right. About the same time of night. The dad goes to this particular lake that's in the area, and he backs into a parking space, and they're just going to hang out, listen to the radio, eat their ice cream. And suddenly there's this blinding light shining from across the water, and everyone reacted. The kids are screaming, Mom is scared, and Dad, guess what he does?
What does the dad do?
Dad decides that he wants to chase it.
Yes.
What?
White dad shit.
What in
We
the
love
everlasting
it.
fuck
Oh, we fucking love it.
would compel you to do that?
I don't know, but I would do the same thing if I'm being honest.
So they start driving, and then Melanie's memory gets a little choppy. She doesn't remember exactly what happens, and Melanie's younger sister who was in the car doesn't remember any of this. But Melanie remembers levitating, and she also remembers waking up and she was on a ship.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Here's the craziest part about it. Tom Warner disappeared from a pasture about the same time, or shortly before this.
Yeah.
The next thing he remembers is that he's on a ship. Okay?
Oh no.
Stark white hallways, strange furniture, and he remembers being walked into a room, and he saw that Melanie Kirchdorfer, who he didn't actually know at the time. They lived in the same town, but she's 2 years older than him, so he doesn't really know her. But she's in the room, and he remembers seeing her crouched down by a bench and that she was terrified. Okay?
Oh, that's not great.
Melanie doesn't remember seeing Tom, but she recalls being in a room with other children, all kind of being herded away. And one by one, they all blinked away.
Blinked away?
Mm-hmm.
No.
They blinked away. And then the next thing that Melanie remembers is that, boom, she's back at the lake, but her parents are gone and she's alone. And she had to walk home from this.
That's not good either.
I know.
Actually,
It's fucking insane.
that's just annoying. Actually.
So eventually Tom Warner wakes up, and he's across the pasture a couple of 100 yards from where he had been taken. And there was a beam of light holding him to the ground. And his brother was there and had seen him and was running towards him, right? This is insane. And a mental voice told Tom, like he was trying to get up, and his brother was like, get up. And he's like, I can't. And then he heard a voice beamed into his head that said, I'll be done in a minute. And then about, a couple of seconds later, he was able to stand, and the light winked out.
No, thank you.
So years later, when they were almost into adulthood, Tom and Melanie finally actually met.
Mm-hmm.
And Melanie says that she felt an immediate connection to Tom, like an otherworldly connection. This is a person that she'd, basically grown up in the same town, but it's large enough that she didn't run in the same circles, but she just was like, I know this guy. I don't know how I know him, but I fucking know him.
Oh, we know how you know him.
We know how you know him. So once that UFO experience happens, the next sighting happens to the south. There's a guy named Tom Reed. Tom is central to the story. Tom Reed and his family had moved to Great Barrington from Queens. His mother had just bought a restaurant. She was a single mom with 2 kids. She'd brought her own mother with her, but this was like her nest egg sort of thing. Like this, we're going to get them out of the city. They're going to live this wonderful life out here with good family morals and out in the Norman Rockwell countryside of New Hampshire. Ugh. Right? I know, whatever. The Labor Day's happening. The family decides they're going to eat at a restaurant and they're going to take a shortcut home across this one covered bridge. And there seemed to be a light as they were driving through the bridge. There seemed to be a light rising from the riverbanks. They could see it through the slats of the wooden bridge. Right? Oh. The younger brother looks and he sees a second light. And they feel a strange... Once they get out of the bridge, they're driving and they feel like a pressure. You know, like the atmosphere is like closing in around them, and he noticed that there wasn't any sound. There's no crickets, no cicadas, no brushing wind. It's like there's no sound at all. Like they're in a cone of silence.
This is a nightmare.
Cone of silence, that's from Dune. So they pull off to the side of the road. The windows are open, and now they see the UFO. And it's blinking turtle shell, about 100 yards wide, row of lights, just like everybody else. And then suddenly there's a light coming from inside the car illuminating everybody, right? And then now, out of nowhere, the ambient sound starts up again. Crickets, cicadas, the wind, everything, right? The UFO paced alongside them, and suddenly Tom found himself transported somewhere else. He was pushed into a room, and he found himself on an exam table.
I don't like when it's
and he was frightened at the... I don't know why we're doing this at night. Jesus Christ, I have to go to sleep tonight. He was frightened at the sight of tall insect-like creatures. The next thing he knew, after that experience, is that he and his family were back in the car, and they had lost 3 hours of time.
That's a significant amount of time.
That's
almost all of Zack Snyder's Justice League.
That's almost all of Zack
That's
Snyder's.
An entire sitting of Dune.
That is. They wake up miles away in front of the drugstore. I said, no, that's where they end up miles away from where they were, in front of a drugstore. And everything is fine. Like, they're like, what the fuck just happened? But the weirdest part was that the car was off. The ignition was off. And his mother had been driving and his grandmother was in the front passenger seat. And when they all woke up, his grandmother was in the driver's seat and his mother was in the passenger seat.
That's fucking
As
weird.
if they tried to... There's like one continuity error.
Yeah.
You know?
Like they just forgot to put everybody back in their place. Oh, I don't like that.
And the reason that it struck him and it's stuck in his head for so long is because his grandmother never drove. Never, ever, ever drove. Refused to drive, you know. And so there would be no reason that she would be in the driver's seat.
That's...
Right? So there's another guy named Eddie Galata, whose father was chief of police in 1969. And he says that he remembers a few days afterwards, people started coming into the police station and telling his father about their UFO sightings, right? So nothing's in the police blotter. Nothing's in the newspaper. But Eddie Galata says, I remember this happening. Mm-hmm. I knew people who had this happen. I knew people who had the sightings. My dad heard these stories. But his father thought it was bullshit, right? Eddie and his friends heard so many of these stories that they went out camping at some of these sites to try to see if they could see a UFO, and nothing ever happened.
Relatable. I would do that.
Yeah, sure you would. So Tom Warner grew up telling the story, but ultimately he stopped talking about it because he slowly realized the older that he got that he'd become a pariah because of the story. He couldn't tell anyone, so he painted a picture of the incident. It's like a... You know, it's one of those things where it's just him and his fit in a pasture, and he sees and there's the beam of light, there's UFO and everything, but it's crazy. Tom Reed, the other kid, the other Tom, there's a Tom there, talked about it all the time. He was adamant that it had actually happened. He ended up being in fights about it. His mother states that they were intimidated about it. People would drive home from them. Tom says that one time somebody got up and exposed themselves to their mom in the restaurant and was like, if you want to see something out of this world, then, look at this. So it ended up getting so bad that his mother eventually sold the diner, sold their house, and they had to move away.
That's incredibly sad.
It is.
Hey, everybody listening at home, if somebody has a cool UFO story, don't commit a sex act against their will. Don't show them your junk. Don't do that to anybody, actually. Just stop.
That's deeply rude.
Deeply rude.
Don't do that.
It's a bad look for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't do it.
Yeah. No unsolicited anything like that.
Don't be a sexual predator, guys.
That's actually a sexual predator thing. Yeah. Okay. So Tom Warner says that other people started coming forward around the time of 2015 and talking to these things. Gary Lavelle, a historian, decided years later that he wanted to research all of the anecdotal stories, so he went searching the archives and he found nothing. So there's a lack of that kind of evidence. So was it a cover-up? Why is it so vaguely documented? What happened exactly? But there's a theory. Tom Reed seems to be the key to this. And so I was going to say that I found a UFO skeptic on the internet named Brian Dunning, and he talked about it a little bit. This article that I read about the Berkshire County UFO talks about how the Reed family history starts to bring it all into sharper focus. An author named Kathleen Marden devoted part of a chapter in her book called The Alien Abduction Files to the Reed family. The Reed family considers themselves multi-generational alien contactees.
Ain't that some
which we know is a thing.
Big dick energy.
They recall that in 1954, Tom's mother, Nancy, was a teenager and had what we describe today as a classic episode of sleep paralysis. I don't want to talk about this right now. It's 10:35 at night. She awoke paralyzed and unable to speak and was surrounded by short, pudgy figures.
Short, pudgy figures.
That she believed were unearthly. I have to sleep in this house alone tonight.
That's not true. You have Boomer.
That's just as bad.
He'll protect you.
I don't think he would.
No, he would run away.
Short, pudgy figures like the ones in Communion.
Yes.
Oh, gross.
Yes.
Okay. Only at daybreak was she able to move and fully wake up. The family always believed it was their first alien visitation. Raised with this knowledge, young Tom and his brother Matthew reported a series of episodes in their bedroom, beginning when Tom was 6 and Matthew was 4. Once they were visited by strange hovering orbs of light. Another time, ghostly figures appeared to them and took them outside onto their horse ranch and into a turtle-shaped spacecraft. Evidently the same one that would surprise them at the covered bridge in 1969. Kind of the same shape. Inside, a group of figures generally matching today's gray aliens showed them projected images, then returned them mysteriously to their bedroom. Another time, exploding balls of light and rattling doors woke the boys up, and they tried to run to their mother's room, but were surrounded by the same insect-like aliens again. Just like those later he would report in the 1969 case. And then they were transported back aboard the same spacecraft and then again to different locations on their property. Yes.
So they're insect-like aliens, right?
Mantis-like aliens.
I would love to hear your rendition of what they sound like. If you just imagine, think to yourself for a moment. You're laying there, open your eyes, you see them. What sound do they make?
I don't want to imagine that, Dylan.
Can you just hit me with it, though?
Dylan, you're gonna be gone in like an hour from now, and I'm gonna have to try to wind myself down and go to sleep.
The best way to get over this is immersion therapy.
No,
put yourself in the place. Put yourself in the place of your sleep paralysis.
You remember the movie Mimic? That's the noise that they make. That. Oh God, damn it. Why do you do this to me? Really?
I'm helping you.
No, you're not. You're a piece of shit, and I hate you. I hate you.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh God. The stories sound very much like what we'd characterize today as hypnagogic or hypnopompic hallucinations, which are those hallucinations that you have right before you fall into deep sleep. Anyway, Jesus Christ. Tom's own experiences have continued, and he believes they extend to his own son as well. He described to Kathleen Marden how both he and his son have strange hallucinogenic experiences one night, and they both believe they were a result of an alien visitation. So it continues to happen, which we see a lot in alien abductions, is that there's a very, very strong multi-generational spot to it. But a podcaster named Brian Dunning talked about how this was his theory, and I just thought I would add this in here. He says it's based on the study of countless such cases and the many consistencies they share and the thoroughly proven ways in which our brains make mistakes when trying to understand things. And of course, a more likely possibility that doesn't require us to break our knowledge of the universe. He says that in 1969, Tom Reed was a very young boy who had been raised with the belief that he was a multi-generational alien contactee. Right? He told his stories of his many alien visitation experiences to everyone who would listen, even into his teenage years and then into adulthood. Most who heard his stories laughed them off or ignored them. Meanwhile, decades passed after the people passed for the people of Berkshire County, a length of time in which most people will have some seemingly strange experiences, as most of us have. And over those years, a few people trying to make sense of their own memorable events recalled Tom's stories, and their pattern-seeking brains made a match. In personal conversation, Tom confirmed their recollections for them, and even provided not just the year, but the exact date and any of the other missing details. This kind of thing happens so frequently that behavioral psychologists have a name for it: the bandwagon effect.
Okay.
When we perceive that members of our group have a shared belief, we tend to embrace that same belief, particularly in a case like this where the members were seeking an explanation for a memory and the charismatic and passionate Tom Reed was right there with all the ready-made details. The inevitable result was that we see today a small group of people who believe they experienced an extraordinary abduction experience on the night of September 1st, 1969, despite an absence of expected evidence so glaring that it flirts with being evidence of absence. To the skeptical mind, the story of Berkshire County UFO has too many red flags to be taken seriously. First, there are exactly 0 contemporary reports of anything happening, which tells us that the story did not really exist until years later. Second, it's promoted by one person with no corroborating evidence. And third, it has attracted 0 scientific or academic attention, garnering only mentions in fringe literature and TV shows about fabrications and wild yarns. Red flags do not, of course, prove anything, but they do tell us one thing. When you hear a story like this, one that bears so many, you should always be skeptical.
Damn, son.
That's what he says.
I can definitely understand it. I mean, there's a lot of good points that were made by him, and listening to it, you know, I can see how there's some plot holes. But the story's sick as fuck. And there's some shit in there I really dig.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, who knows? Maybe people did get abducted. Who knows?
I think they probably did.
It's fucking aliens. What kind of evidence are they supposed to leave?
Exactly.
A little ICU, little Graylian footprints.
The other thing that I always think about, especially in these situations, is that being an alien abductee or an alien contactee, that is not a club that you want to be in.
Yeah, like, everybody wants to see a UFO in the distance. Nobody wants to wake up on an operating table.
This isn't going to make you popular in any circle.
No. Well, a very small circle of people that are not popular.
But even Tom Warner, who they interviewed in Unsolved Mysteries, talks about, he's like, this isn't something that I'm not doing this for notoriety. You know, You think this helps me? I still live here in Great Barrington. My family's, my wife is here. My son is here. Do you think talking about these things makes him popular in school?
No,
I mean, he understands that.
And like, even if you were to become super like notable for this, most of what you're gonna be hearing towards yourself is gonna be bad shit. It's not a fun thing to have happen.
No, it's not. They called into the wrong radio station. That's what happened. You know who they should have called into?
WKRX.
All the metal hits.
Hail Cincinnati.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan. We would have believed you.
I'd have been on that shit in a minute. That's why we are investigative journalists.
That's right.
We would do that.
We have an obligation to the truth.
Truth, justice, and a better tomorrow.
The bandwagon effect.
Getting the band back together.
I understand that it's a thing, but it's not a thing in this one. Anyway, that's the Berkshire County UFO incident. I thought it was very interesting.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Which is why I brought it to us.
Good shit, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's been so long since I've heard a spooky story of aliens and sleep paralysis.
I don't want to think about it. Thanks. Okay. Well, that's my topic, Dylan.
Excellent.
And since I'm the one who's going to be editing it, I think we should cut it short and go home.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, guys. Well, we're really excited to be back. I
Yes.
promise you that we've missed you so much. And we thank
really
you.
have.
Whoever comes back to us, we're so happy that you're here. And we're just so excited to be back. So, I'm going to try my damnedest to get this thing edited as quickly as possible so we can get it out there for you guys. And we're going to get onto a consistent basis where I'm researching topics, which I have time to do. And we'll continue to start recording. Excellent. All right, guys. Dylan, you got anything else?
Just thank you, everybody. Thank you for your patience with me.
Thank you for being a friend. I don't know the rest of the song.
That's fair. It needed to end there. Anyway, thank you for your patience and for sticking with us. We're still trying to stay engaged, and we appreciate that, we've had so many people still like talk to us and just hang out with us and listen to old episodes while you're waiting for this whole thing. But yeah, no, thank you guys. It's been super cool, and we're super excited to start posting shit again. And now you get to see our beautiful faces.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. All right, guys. Well, if that's it from Dylan, my co-host, my name is Jake, and we hope we've left you too scared to sleep.